Dealing with toxic people in everyday life can be very challenging, and doing so according to the Buddha's teachings provides a path to inner peace, compassion, and understanding. Buddhism emphasizes the importance of mindfulness, compassion, detachment, and moral behavior in overcoming the difficulties that toxic people bring. In this detailed explanation, I explore how you can apply these principles in a deeper and more holistic way to navigate interactions with toxic people while maintaining your own peace and well-being. 1. Mindfulness, sati. Mindfulness or sati is one of the most important practices of Buddhism and plays a crucial role in dealing with toxic people. Mindfulness is being fully aware of your thoughts, feelings, and bodily sensations in the present moment without judgment. When confronted with a toxic person, it's easy to wallow in negative emotions like anger, frustration, or sadness. However, mindfulness encourages you to notice these feelings without getting attached to them. When dealing with toxic behavior, you can practice mindfulness. Notice your reactions. Instead of reacting immediately to negativity, stop and take a deep breath. Recognize the emotions that arise in you without identifying them. This creates space between the stimulus and your response, allowing you to act with greater clarity. Recognize impermanence. Buddhism teaches that everything is impermanent, anicca, including feelings and situations. Like all things, toxic behavior is temporary. By recognizing the impermanence of the situation, you can avoid getting stuck in negative emotions, knowing that this too shall pass. Maintain equanimity. Mindfulness helps develop equanimity, the ability to remain calm and composed while facing challenges. When dealing with toxic people, sobriety allows you to maintain your emotional balance even when they try to provoke you. Through mindfulness, you learn to respond to toxic behavior with calmness and presence rather than being overwhelmed by negative emotions. This exercise empowers you to navigate difficult interactions without losing your inner peace. 2. Compassion, karuna. Compassion or karuna is another essential element of Buddhist practice. It involves a desire to relieve the suffering of others and is especially important when dealing with toxic people. Toxic people often behave in harmful ways because they are suffering internally. You may be struggling with unresolved pain, trauma, or ignorance that manifests itself in negative attitudes toward others. Rather than reacting to toxic people with anger or resentment, Buddhism encourages approaching them with compassion. Here's how you can develop empathy in these situations. Understanding your pain. Toxic behavior is a symptom of deep emotional or psychological distress. By recognizing that the person in front of you is suffering, you can develop compassion instead of hostility. This doesn't mean condoning their behavior, but it allows you to see them as people who are struggling just like everyone else. Loving kindness meditation, metta. One of the most powerful practices in Buddhism is loving kindness meditation, also known as metta bhavana. This practice sends goodwill, kindness, and love to you and others, even difficult people. When facing a toxic person, you can silently wish them well and express thoughts: may you be happy. May you be free from sorrow. May you find peace. This practice helps resolve feelings of anger and promotes a more compassionate attitude toward the most difficult people. Boundaries of compassion. Compassion means not allowing others to harm you. It's important to set healthy boundaries with toxic people and make sure their behavior doesn't negatively affect your well-being. Empathic boundaries are accepting that the other person is suffering, but acknowledging that you have a responsibility to protect yourself. You can be friendly and assertive at the same time. By cultivating compassion, you can transform your relationships with toxic people. Instead of seeing them as enemies or sources of frustration, start seeing them as fellow human beings who are suffering and in need of understanding. This shift in perspective allows you to respond with kindness even when their behavior is difficult to tolerate. 3. Detachment, upadana. Detachment or upadana is a central tenet of Buddhist philosophy. They teach that much of our suffering comes from holding on to things, be they people, situations, or emotions. When we hold on to the idea that someone should behave a certain way or that we should control the outcome of interactions, we open ourselves up to disappointment and frustration. Toxic people often feel this attachment provoke them because we want them to change, to behave differently. Buddhism advises letting go of attachments in several important ways. Letting go of expectations. The main source of unhappiness when dealing with toxic people is our attachments to expectations. We expect them to treat us with kindness, be sensitive or considerate. When they don't meet these expectations, we feel hurt or angry. By practicing non-stickiness, we let go of the need for them to behave in a certain way. This doesn't mean accepting bad behavior, it means we can't control others, only our own reactions. Detachment from the ego. Toxic interactions often inflame the ego, which craves recognition, validation, and respect. When someone insults us or disrespects us, the ego wants to fight back to protect its self-esteem. Buddhism teaches that the ego is an illusion and clinging to it causes suffering. By getting rid of the ego, you can move past personal ideas and shame and realize that they don't really define you. Freedom from emotional entanglements. Detachment does not mean being cold or apathetic. Rather, it's about not allowing yourself to get emotionally caught up in toxic behavior. You may still care about the person, but you don't let their negativity affect your peace of mind. This emotional distance allows you to interact with toxic people without getting drawn into their drama. By practicing detachment, you free yourself from the emotional hold that toxic people often have over you. You can approach them from a position of peace and distance, knowing that their behavior doesn't have to dictate your inner state. 4. Right speech and right action, Samma Vaka and Samma Kamantha. The Eightfold Path of Buddhism offers ethical guidelines for a balanced and harmonious life. These two guidelines, right speech and right action, are especially relevant when dealing with toxic people. Right speech. This principle emphasizes speaking truthfully, kindly and constructively. When confronted with toxic people, it may succumb to temptation or respond with harsh words. However, proper language encourages you to choose your words carefully so that they are not hurtful and contribute to a peaceful resolution. Speak the truth, but do so with kindness and compassion. Avoid gossip, insults and inflammatory language that can escalate the situation. Right action. This principle involves acting in a manner that is ethical, kind and beneficial to yourself and others. When dealing with toxic people, the right thing to do is to avoid retaliation, revenge, or harmful actions. Instead, it encourages you to act with integrity and compassion, even when others act with negativity. This doesn't mean you have to passively accept bad behavior. This means responding with actions that align with your values and ethics. By following the principles of right speech and actions, you can deal with toxic people in a way that preserves your integrity and promotes harmony. They avoid increasing toxicity and instead contribute to a more peaceful solution. 5. Causes of karma and understanding. The concept of karma is central to Buddhist philosophy. Karma refers to the law of cause and effect. Our actions, whether positive or negative, have consequences that shape our future experiences. From a Buddhist perspective, toxic behavior is often the result of negative karma. People who engage in harmful behaviors are likely to cause more suffering in the long run. Understanding karma helps when dealing with toxic people because it reminds us that their behavior is not personal. It is the result of their past actions, conditioning and suffering resolved. Recognizing this allows you to emotionally detach from their negativity and respond with greater understanding. Additionally, by treating toxic people with kindness and compassion, you create positive karma for yourself. This does not mean tolerating abuse, but acting in a way that reflects the principles of compassion and mindfulness, laying the foundations for a more peaceful future. Conclusion. The Buddha's teachings provide profound guidance for dealing with toxic people in everyday life. By practicing mindfulness, you become aware of your emotions and reactions and can respond with calmness and clarity. Empathy helps you understand the pain behind toxic behavior so you can treat others with kindness instead of hostility. Detachment frees you from the need to control or change others, and from being emotionally entangled allows you to interact with toxic people. The principles of right speech and right action guide you in maintaining ethical behavior, while understanding karma helps you see toxic behavior in the context of cause and effect. By embodying these teachings, you can maintain inner peace, navigate difficult relationships with wisdom and grace, and contribute to a more peaceful life. A world of ionic and harmonious.